All right, welcome back to the channel. The Zone is pitching AJ's failure as a way to get people to watch this fight with Andy Ruiz. Slyvester Stallone is helping with a Rocky-like documentary of that behind whooping AJ got. I want to talk about that and what Deontay Wilder said in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. Also, thank you to everybody on the Patreon. Thank you to everybody in the live stream community. Make sure you check out OG Boxing Talk this Sunday with myself, Blood Boxing, KQKC Boxing, Trap House Boxing, and Curtis Anderson. 8 a.m. Sunday morning where we wrap up the week in boxing. All right, man. Looking forward to a fight that's taking place this December, way out in the Middle East for some reason, with a lot of rumors about a lot of money going around. But it is the rematch of Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz, or should I say Andy Ruiz versus Anthony Joshua, because Andy Ruiz is the champion. Andy Ruiz has knocked down Anthony Joshua 4 times and wound up having Anthony Joshua quit up against the ropes to become the WBA, WBO, IBF, and just to rub it in the faces, we'll throw in the IBO as well. All of the 4 belts that Anthony Joshua had, but you know, it's really only 3. And honestly, for real, that's 3 too many major championship belts. The number of belts in boxing is ridiculous. It just completely waters down the concept of a champion and allows television networks or internet, whatever you want to call them, the distributors of boxing to claim that they all have a champion. And when you know what they say, when everybody's a champion, nobody is. That seems to be the state of boxing. However, we know we're going to see this fight, and just on its face is a good fight. Andy Ruiz was an underdog heading into the last fight, and not many people expected him to win. I won't say nobody, because I know of videos where people predicted that Andy Ruiz was going to beat him. So can't say nobody thought it. I know Fred from Barbershop Conversations was very confident about it. I believe Black Fight Fan TV over on True Boxing Talk was very confident about it. I thought that there was a chance because it's Andy Ruiz is a good fighter. Andy Ruiz is not somebody that they just pulled out from nowhere, and he definitely was no Rocky Balboa, Apollo Creed type of situation, which is how the Zone is going to pitch it. Now, they have the documentary being produced, a boxing film being produced by Slyvester Stallone that is supposed to chronicle the Rocky-like story of Andy Ruiz beating Anthony Joshua. Now, we all know what Rocky was about. Rocky Balboa was from Philadelphia. He was a club fighter, a down and out fighter who talented but underachieving guy that gets this shot against the heavyweight champion of the world, Apollo Creed, makes the best of it, loses the first fight, but in that becomes a star. All of that good stuff. You know, yo, Adrian, all of that stuff, right? Very good movie. One of the best boxing movies that have ever been made. The Rocky series, I've enjoyed as many of the movies. Wasn't too big on the Creed movies, just because, you know, at a certain point in time, I'm like, look, man, this shit ain't how it works, okay? In the real world, Anthony Joshua, in the real world, Rocky Balboa gets his behind whooped by Apollo Creed, just like what happened to, I believe it was Chuck Webner, who was the inspiration for Rocky. Chuck Webner tripped Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali tripped over Chuck Webner's foot. He knocked down Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali gets up and pistol whips him, whoops him, gets him out of there. But hey, Chuck Webner story becomes Rocky Balboa, right? That ain't how it happens in the real world. And let me assure you, that ain't what happened with Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua. Then this story, if they want to be honest about it, what happened was this. And overhyped, they need to make it the Primo Carnera. They need to make it the Primo Carnera fights, God, maybe Max, what is it, Max Bear? Is it Max Bear? I think Max Bear might have been his son, but Bear versus Primo Carnera. Primo Carnera was a heavyweight, an Italian heavyweight. I believe that was in the 1930s, late 1920s, 1930s, who had this manufactured record and was basically supported by the mob, had this manufactured record, and eventually gets ran through when he runs into his first real heavyweights contender. Now, I wouldn't say that Anthony Joshua is really a Primo Carnera, but he is in a way, because Primo Carnera looked the part. He was very tall. I think he was 6'6", 6'7", very muscle bound, strong guy. Physically, he looked like he could take your head off. But the fact of the matter is that he was only a decent fighter. And when he got in there with a really tough fighter, he wound up going away. And that's what happened, in my opinion, that's what happened to Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is over there in the UK fighting fights that were basically picked for him, and fighters that were good fighters, not great fighters. You have Vladimir Klitschko was his signature win. Vladimir Klitschko was a guy that was over 40 years old. He had not won a fight in 2 years. The last fight that he did win was against a guy in Brian Jennings, who maybe 3 years before Vladimir Klitschko very well might have just dispatched of. But he goes the distance with Brian Jennings. He loses to Tyson Fury. He sits out 2 years. He thinks he sees something soft in Anthony Joshua. He knocks down Anthony Joshua and was beating Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua bum rushes him, boom, uppercut. Now Anthony Joshua is the king of the world. Anthony Joshua was maneuvered away from Deontay Wilder by Eddie Hearn, and he's being marketed and promoted as this incredibly, the king of boxing, all of that type of stuff. He comes to the United States to fight against in my opinion, a soft punching Jarrell Big Baby Miller. Big Baby Miller tests positive. They do a bad job of matching him up with a replacement guy in Andy Ruiz, who is a for real fighter. Andy Ruiz only had lost one fight, and that was in New Zealand to Joseph Parker. And many people think Andy Ruiz beat Joseph Parker. But the matchmakers for Anthony Joshua feel like I have to assume they believe that triangles theory stuff really works in the world, right? Where if Anthony Joshua had beaten Joseph Parker and Joseph Parker beat Andy Ruiz, that means Anthony Joshua beats Andy Ruiz. But no, didn't happen like that. He gets in there and he is overmatched by Andy Ruiz, because Andy Ruiz he's smaller, he's shorter, he's smaller, he's not built, he's not muscular, he doesn't look the part, but he was the part. And he winds up beating up Anthony Joshua, making him stop. Anthony Joshua mentally wasn't there. That is not the story that's not a Rocky Balboa type of story. They may pitch it as a Rocky Balboa type of story, but it ain't. Okay? It's not a Rocky Balboa type of situation. It's more a situation like maybe not quite Sonny Liston. No, because everybody knew Sonny Liston was going to beat Patterson, but maybe it's more like a Prince Nassim Hamed, Marco Antonio Barrera type of situation, where Prince Nassim Hamed is this coming over to the United States and he beats Kevin Kelly, but he looks vulnerable fighting Kevin Kelly. He gets in there against Marco Antonio Barrera, who had already lost 2 times to Junior Jones, and then Marco Antonio Barrera admits to retiring Prince Nassim Hamed in America. Prince Nassim Hamed, after that Marco Antonio Barrera fight, never stepped up again. Maybe it could have been an Adrian Brawner, Marcus Maidana type of situation. Regardless, it is not by any way, shape, or form some guy that you ain't never heard of coming from nowhere to beat the heavyweight champion of the world. No, my friends, that is not what it is. But I gotta say this: if DAZN is start spending its money and producing documentaries about fighters, that's going to be very, very interesting. I hope what they do is they don't just start making it, they don't make it propaganda pieces, but more high quality conversations and videos about boxing. Hey man, I welcome the idea. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section about this. We're definitely going to check out this fight coming up in December. Definitely check it out on the live stream. We'll be covering the fight. I am a subscriber to DAZN, despite what you guys think. It is what it is. And with that, I'm out. Peace.